welcome everybody. Going back and recapping last weekend's game with Texas Tech, down there at Texas Tech, a wild game, but really elated with the way our offense played. I thought Baker was just sensational, not only just his accuracy, his deep balls, the decisions at the line of scrimmage, changing plays here and there. Just really operated in a great way to get, to have the consistency that we did. Thought Joe Mixon was also equally as incredible in the way he played, running the football, great cuts, strength, power, speed when he broke open, and then route running. The first touchdown, being able to get past the linebacker, great hands out in space. Was just had a great, just a special night, along with other big plays. D.D. Westbrook, again, over 200 yards, ton of big plays. Interesting, our offensive coaches wanted to give the player of the game to the offensive line. So all those guys up front with Alex Dalton and all the starters were really the players of the game with protection, run blocking, all of that. Really played well and needed to, because obviously the defense was not nearly good enough in the way we played. But I do want to compliment Coach Kingsbury, Texas Tech. Patrick Mahomes is an excellent player and really got hot because there's a lot of cases where we're in tight, close coverage and not able to make the play. Give them credit. They made some competitive, tough plays and made the plays when they needed to. Big story of the game, I thought, there was third downs. Interestingly, we played well enough to put them in 25 third downs and 2 fourth downs, but we weren't able to convert on those. They converted 20 of them, and that's, to me, that was the story of the game, not being able to come up with the play on third down to get off the field. We've got to do a better job, be more aggressive to complete plays. Multiple occasions we got pressure and couldn't complete a sack. We got him two hands, couldn't get him on the ground. He scrambled away and made plays. And then other times we're in tight coverage. They come up with the ball. We've got to be able to get in there more aggressively, rip the ball out, knock it down, whatever it may be. And so we've got to keep improving there. I thought overall, again, Austin, outside of the first miss, which really hurt us. That 1 point continues to haunt you as you go through a game. But fortunately, there in the fourth quarter, we went for a 2-point play and were able to make it up. But the rest of the kicking game was really solid the rest of the day. So anyway, that leads us to being back at home here with Kansas. I think the positive part too, again from last week, is being on the road in that situation. Just the way the offense, continued to respond. And I didn't realize this. I guess it's been 12 years since we've been 4-0 at this point in the season in Big 12 play. So hopefully, we just got to keep improving to keep that. But being here at home with KU, a team that is much improved, Coach Beatty and his staff have done a great job. Doesn't look like the same team from a year ago by any means, and every game, for the most part this year, they've been late in the game with an opportunity to win. You see it, excellent execution. Offensively and defensively they're really playing well both sides of the ball, and a much improved football team, much different than what their record indicates. So we need to make our improvement here this week, primarily defensively, because we'll see a very similar attack and from Kansas here this week.
What's your injury situation with Romar and those guys?
Matt, looks not too bad. We'll see as we go through the week. Matt Romar was banged up, but we went back in. So just unsure right now. The great thing, Devontae Lampkin went in and had a heck of a game. Was on the quarterback 2-3 times, got to him. Really, for a guy, he and Amani, two young guys, were really credited with really playing, really well.
Obo, is he all right?
Obo, unsure about still. He's a guy that they checked out after the game, and unsure. We'll see how he reacts through the week.
Hydrated or what was-
Well, there's a couple issues there that I just won't divulge.
Bob, you've spoken many times this season already about staying positive, keeping a positive message. What positives do you take, or can you pull out of that defensive performance? How do you kind of keep the guys on task with that?
Yeah, we have to. The positive parts are, how tight we are in a lot of those occasions, and I know we're capable of finishing the play. Instead of sticking behind a guy, step in front, knock the ball down, intercept it, whatever it may be. So in a lot of cases we're in a lot of good positions, but we've got to complete the play, and I believe we can. So we'll just have to keep pushing for that and challenge the guys to be more aggressive in what they're doing.
How do you improve tackling, though, at this point in the season, especially when you're trying to prevent guys from getting hurt?
Well, again, because we've had a lot of occasions where we've tackled really well. So if they've done it before, I believe they can do it again. There isn't. We do all our drills, like you always do, but the live situation's always different.
What concern do you have that, defensively speaking here, that the guys maybe have lost confidence after that game? I mean, 800 yards, you're setting inside records.
They'll. I'm sure they have to a degree, but it's up to them, and practice habits and the way we play to be able to play confidently and aggressively. It's your only opportunity to have success.
You mentioned that the issue is third down defense, and it seems like you can, practice forever on how to execute defensively, but how do you practice third down? I mean, are not all the downs the same when you're out on the practice field?
No, there's some differences, and we do practice third down, quite a bit. In fact, we have a competition every Wednesday with the offense on third downs. So so the down and distance in those situations is different than 1st and 10, second down, and we've got to be able to execute and get off the field, in those situations.
Is the difference psychological, or is it?
Well, the down and distance, it is different because your play choices are usually different, so that's than they are in 1st and second down, and not quite as obvious with Texas Tech. It is with other people, but in some cases every down's third down in the way they play, and again, so I'm just feel our execution in some of those instances, needs to be better, but. It's first thing Coach Riley said to me after the game is, I can't believe we got him in 25 third downs, and it's a good point. So you're asking for positives. There you go. So they're throwing it first and second down. We're defending it. We got to defend it on third down as well.
I asked about the players' confidence. What about the coach's confidence? What about your confidence? What about Mike's confidence? Because he looked kind of whipped on Saturday.
Well, you would, and I would think all our defensive coaches would. He's not the only one. So in the end, we'll stick to what we can do and improve on it and keep confident in our players, and it's your only choice. And I've seen our guys make these plays before. And again, I think too. I'll go back to compliment, Patrick Mahomes and their guys for some really excellent competitive plays. And, but we need to, there's a bunch of those plays we can make too, and we've got to make them.
Now, after you've had a couple days to look at it, are there answers from Saturday night, or do you just tip your hat to Texas Tech like you said?
No, there's answers. Us play better, Yeah, we've got to do a better job, but, sure, I already tipped my hat to them, but there are answers, yeah.
We always seem to give the coordinators a lot of grief when things don't go well, but how much of it also falls on the position coaches when guys aren't making plays?
Oh, definitely. I mean, everybody, all our coaches are responsible. Yeah, the coordinator doesn't coach everybody, so in the end, it's each position is, coached by somebody, but those guys have done a good job. I know a year ago everybody was raving about our secondary coach and the new coaches, and we got running the same things, doing the same things, and I still have great confidence in all those guys.
In your your mind, is it more on the players?
I'm not going to go into that. It's all of us. You know, I'm not going to sit here and it's not all the coaches, it's not all the players, it's all of us.
Is it easier to have the tough kind of conversations that you have to have after a game like that? You got to go over it, well, obviously, with your defense and your defensive coordinator. Well, he's your brother. Is it easier or more difficult because of the fact that he's your brother?
It's neither. It's business. You go over it and you study it, but you know, and again, it's all of us too. It isn't just my brother and I. It's also Coach Cooks, Coach Thibodeau, Coach Kish. Everybody in there didn't complete a sack. Ball caught between the two linebackers. Ball caught on a secondary guy. It's all of us together.
There's a lot of on that theme. There's a lot of sentiment out there from the fans, from the public, from the media that because Mike is your brother, he's safe here. You know, another defensive coordinator coming in and putting up those kind of numbers would be fired, kind of thing.
That's not true. It's the same coordinator that also we led the league in every single defensive category a year ago, and made it to the Final Four. And we're not running a new defense. He didn't bring in something different. It's the same defense. All right, so if it's worked before, it'll work again, and I've got confidence in it. And I'm also part of what we're doing there.
A macro question. Saturday was historic, but not particularly unusual, in today's college football to have crazy offensive games. Is that more a result of offensive coordinators realizing there's a whole field out there to use over the last 20 years, or rules changes that make it hard to play defense?
I think it's more the spacing and the way teams are, tempoing and no-huddling and spreading the field the way they are, and the talent of quarterbacks as well. All of that, I think, goes into what you're saying. And rule changes, they do favor, some offensively, but I don't, I think it's more the other. With the offensive numbers.
You said it's also your responsibility as well as the head coach, and you're a defensive coach, defensive background. You are certainly involved in what's going on with the defense. Here in your own conference, you had a coach who demoted his defensive coordinator and stepped up and is calling defensive signals now at Texas. Not that you're demoting Mike or anything, but is there more responsibility on you? Like, okay, maybe Mike needs some help, maybe Mike needs additional.
No.
Devising the defense or calling the defensive plays?
I've been involved with the defense for 18 years, so it hadn't changed.
So you can't do
I
any
haven't
more,
stepped away from it, and I never have.
but you can't do like more.
No, I do
doing all you can.
what's necessary. That's right.
Okay.
Bob, how tough it's late October, and it seems like the big thing you guys are trying to instill is confidence, and having to try to instill that now 7 games into the season with some of these guys. How tough?
Well, it's just been inconsistent. I think it is easy to point out where we have played very well, and that's what our guys have to know, that we have done this before, and we can do it again.
If you want to look back at Saturday, and again, I'm sure you've reviewed the film ad nauseum, but is it more blitzing, less blitzing? Is it more man-to-man coverage, less man-to-man coverage?
We tried 4-man rush, we tried 3-man rush, and we tried 5-man rush. We tried man, we tried zone, so we mixed them all up.
So then the follow-up is, what about personnel? You have a lot of freshmen out there, and you've got some coming in, obviously, next year. Are you thinking about maybe these guys that we have out here can't do it? And
No, we have faith in our guys. We're going to continue to coach them to be better and believe they will be better.
no need to build for the future then.
No, not when you're undefeated in the conference right now, right?
You talked about this a little Saturday, but you come off a game where your defense had over 109 plays. How much work can you give them this week after a game like that?
Well, they're young guys. They'll we'll be aware of it, but we'll practice and get better, and they'll be able to respond.
Everybody talks about the defense looking tired. The offense looked pretty tired too. I mean, with Joe Mixon, for instance.
Well, yeah, Joe
he was
had a
going
big
45,
day.
30, 50 yards on every play.
No question. Joe, shows his stamina, though. He was bopping around after the game like he hadn't even played, and he's carried it 31 times, and I don't know how many receptions. I mean, he had a long day, but, he's a powerful, strong guy and handled it well. Proud of Abdul. Abdul went in there and did some nice things, some nice cuts, and, but yeah, very proud of, the workload Joe handled.
Bob, you brought up Lampkin. How well did you actually play up front?
Up front, we played pretty decent, overall. They got, other than, I say that, we didn't, we got to be able to complete a bunch of those opportunities we had where we're on the quarterback. And, again, give him credit. Gosh, I don't know how many times he unloaded it at the last second, when you're have an opportunity close to getting to him and throws it away. And, he played a really good game.
Can you talk about Basquin? He really seemed to be a safety blanket for
yeah, Nick continues to come on, route running, sure-handed, catching. He really understands spacing as well, where to be, reading defenses. And so you can tell Baker has a lot of trust in him. And so, yeah, excited for Nick. He's doing a really good job.
Joe is seems like a natural pass receiver. Did he play that a lot in high school when you guys watched him? Was he?
Well, he we knew he had good hands, yeah, and you knew the athlete he was. Pardon me?
He gets wide open on routes.
Yeah, no, he's again, Joe's a good route runner to go with being a great running back,
Along with Joe, you have Dimitri Flowers, another guy who can catch the ball. How important is that to have guys in the backfield that can make plays like Dimitri did on Saturday?
Yeah, Dimitri's a very athletic fullback. You don't always have your fullbacks, with that kind of ability to. I don't think Rip would care that I'd say Rip probably wouldn't have made that type of play, and not Rip's doing fine with the Packers, so I don't think he's going to be offended by that. But Dimitri's a little bit different style, and with his hands and ability to get open as well.
Well, going back to Joe, were you more surprised with his one-handed catch or the run that got called back because of holding, the one where he was?
I thought the run that got called back. I have no idea how he made that happen. At the time, I saw it all happening. You have to be kidding me. He went from a lost yardage play to cracking it 60 yards or whatever it was.
What makes Dede Westbrook so difficult to cover for defenses?
Dede, why is he so difficult to cover? Speed, quickness, route running. He's got all of that.
Bob, you've got a historic game offensively Saturday night. Put that in perspective. You had quarterback Baker Mayfield over 500 yards, Dede Westbrook over 200 yards, a running back over 250 yards. That's never happened in a OU in the OU history or at college football history. Put that in perspective.
Yeah, it was exceptional. I think compliment the whole offensive unit for like I said, it started with the line being able to give Baker the time and whatnot to for those to design, and then the offensive coaches as well. Coach Riley and our whole staff. Just an excellent job of execution and and creating some big plays and then just the consistency with the execution.
Bob, when you think about where the offense was at the beginning of the year and some of the issues that plagued you, some turnovers, sort of getting a little bit out of sorts, I guess you could say, and then where they were on Saturday, almost having to score every possession, what do you chalk that up to, just that evolution of the offense?
I think just, continuing to come together and as a unit, consistency there. Getting Dede back, I think healthy, added a spark, and I think that's been a big plus to go with the other parts that just keep improving.
Was there a point on Saturday night when you just kind of had to accept that Tech was going to make plays and that what you were trying wasn't really working?
No, I don't think you ever accept that. Again, what we were doing, we did about everything you could do. We just, again, we've got to be able to complete plays.
Why don't we see more of Will Sunderland?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and critique every guy in the public. In the end, we play, and I've said this every so often. Everyone asks this guy, that guy. We play guys that we see in practice. Understand where they need to be, what they need to do, and do it the best and most consistent. And that's at any position. So that I'm not talking about Will in particular. So.
You were asked about the one-handed catch by Mixon, and I thought the question was going to be, were you more surprised he caught it one-handed, or more surprised with the casualness of which he caught it one-handed? And is that just sort of a look into, a sense of the game or an intelligence about the game that can't be taught or something? It's just easy.
It's fairly easy for him. I saw him the week before that since the kickoff wasn't returned, catch a kickoff with one hand. So Baker's smooth spiral is a lot easier to catch than a kickoff. But, that's just his, it just sort of happened, and that's his, it is sometimes easy for him.
Well, when it did happen, I wonder if there was any reaction inside of you that was like, well, okay, reach out with one hand, but I mean,
it happened right in front of me, and yeah, I was thinking, where's the other hand? For a split second, until you saw him tuck it and keep going.
Do you even address it, or do you just, he's got it, I don't need to say anything?
No, I'll let Coach Bolware, his position coach, deal with it. I just pat him on the back.
To talk about confidence, does it add to the importance of how well you guys played this Saturday? I mean, regardless of opponent, regardless of location, to have a good performance on Saturday?
Sure. You have to build on it, so definitely.
You guys are still a month away from playing them, so you can't really offer anything scouting-wise, but is there some secret to what West Virginia's doing? You guys struggled to stop, for 2 quarters at least, Texas Christian, TCU, and then Texas Tech. West Virginia, 17 points for each school. I mean, what are they doing?
They're playing well. They're playing well.
Making the plays that you guys.
They're making some good plays, definitely.
Update on Drew Samia, what did it say once again about the depth offensive line for Dalton to come right back in and do what he did?
Yeah, Drew's fine. Just Coach Bedenbow, that's how he wanted to play him.
Are Matt Diamond and Charles Walker any closer to returning, or?
They ought to be, but I'm not sure right now. But if I do know more here this week, I'll put it out. But right now, they're still on. I'm still unsure whether they'll be able to play or not.
Are you talking again this season or just for Kansas?
I'm talking this game.
Coach, you mentioned the offensive line played extremely well last week. It's been 4 games in a row. Where have you seen the most improvement in the offensive line since the beginning of conference play?
Just their continuity together of recognizing defenses and working together to pick them up. Whether they're stunning or not. And then fundamentals, just their blocking and being physical.
You've had guys over the years that have come in, worked hard, developed as players, but is Dede a pretty good example of a guy that just confidence helped him from one year to the next become a completely different player?
That probably has a good bit to do with it, just being more comfortable and like you said, confident and sure of himself and what he's doing. It's probably a fair part of it, yeah.
I mean, you see a burst from him almost. I mean, I can't remember seeing somebody that has that type of burst of receiver. I mean, Sterling had special gifts, but I mean, as fast as he is and as wide open as he gets, it's very uncommon.
Yeah, and again, I think too. I don't think there's any question. Just what I keep saying, the speed and quickness. And I think too. Our offensive coaches, finding ways. Coach Riley and Coach, Gundy and Simmons of finding ways to, put him in a position to have it be difficult to deal with him. Everyone. It's just go double them. Well, not when you can hand the football off or go to someone else. It isn't that easy. And I just also feel they're giving them some really good opportunities too.
You did that earlier. He said he really hadn't faced very many double teams this year. Is there something about this offense that makes it hard to do that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's when you spread the entire field and use everybody, it's hard to just double somebody. And you could hand it off, or you just go to everybody else that's one-on-one. It's just not that simple to do.
When you face 109 or whatever defensive plays, you guys are going to be gassed, especially in the fourth quarter. But early on there were some plays, early in the first half especially, handful of plays where it looked like guys were jogging to the ball, slips a tackle and goes for 20 yards or picks up a third down or something like that. How surprised are you or agitated are you by the fact that sometimes the defensive effort isn't there early on?
Well, it's something that's very discouraging when it isn't what it needs to be, and you're not executing the way you need to be or playing as hard or physical as you need to be.
What do you do about it as a coach?
We'll address it.
I know Samaje isn't playing this weekend, but what do you remember about his game that he had 2 years ago against Kansas?
Just remember him, really running well and strong, offense executing with him, but just had one of those special days. Especially too with the rain, we needed him to have one of those kind of days, and it was one of those for the ages, really.
Was there a point at which you could sense that he was just playing on another level?
Oh, sure. When you saw him, as the game was progressing, you could tell he had a great feel for it.
How aware were you kept of where he was on the record? Because once he had it, you guys pulled him, obviously.
Yeah, actually, I didn't become aware of the record until late in the third quarter, and we had talked about it, but we knew we also wanted to protect him, and I said that we're going to let him go this one series in the fourth quarter, and if he doesn't get it, after this series, we're taking him out. And I'll be darned, I didn't say it, get out of my mouth. A play or two later, he popped it for 50 or whatever it was, and that was it. I said, well, there you go, and so that's kind of how it went.
What kind of guy is David Beatty? I mean, just listening to him talk, he's so motivational. He seems like a genuinely good coach.
He is. David's a great coach and a positive guy. I haven't been around him a ton other than our meetings and things like that, but he does a great job, great communicator, and it's always very easy to be around for sure.
Would it be fair to say that when you watch another team play, I guess I'm thinking about this from what you said earlier about Kansas, and they're doing things the right way, you can backtrack it and know what's happening from head coach to coordinator to position coach, and just sort of, you don't have to witness it, but you know the right things are taking place.
Start that again.
When you see a team like Kansas that struggled for a long time, and you see them playing better, you can know what's taking place on the coaching staff. You can backtrack their new success, their better play, to those connections. But you just answered the question about the way he's. Forget it.
I was having a hard time the second go around with it, so I'm glad you let me off the hook.
There was mention about the GPS tracking system on players to track their activity. The training staff tracks it. How important is that with the short week coming up next week and long game? How important is that at the training staff to keep activity monitored throughout with nutrition?
Sure,
hydration?
our guys, our training staff does a really good job with it. They keep each other informed of it. So, so we're, we pay attention to it, of who, you might limit the snaps and the reps in practice and, and who should be okay with it,
Did you have a last minute change or something that caused Dahu to be wearing the same numbers as Curtis on special teams?
Yeah, it just Dahu hadn't been on special teams, that much at all, and Coach Boulware wanted to use him this week. He looked good in practice, and it was an oversight on my part ultimately,
Your defenders, who had the most plays?
Stephen Parker, Ahmad, Obo would have been up there,
Over 100, any of them?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this week you have obviously Kansas, next week Iowa State. Are you looking to get young guys more reps these next 2 weeks?
No.
Bob, I'm only asking you because I can't ask Joe. But you guys made him available to a pool reporter after the game, and Joe declined. Was that just his own prerogative, or was that his legal team telling him no? Or
I don't
know?
know the answer to that.
You said to a previous question, you're kind of doing all you can do defensively as coaches. there's more hours in the day that you can spend on it? I mean, when you've got a defensive 911 like you're going through right now, hey guys, we need to forget what you were doing at 4 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever. I need you in here in the office. Is there any of that going on?
No, we didn't have a lot of mental errors at all.
Coaching staff wise though, I mean, more film, more breakdown, more scouting, anything like that?
We do all of that, sure. We're constantly, watching and reviewing what we're doing.
When you get kind of backed up like you did Saturday, is there a temptation to want to do more, or do you rein it in as a head coach and say, no, this is our process?
We stick to our process. We do more on different occasions. So yeah, we've tried to do more, but again, there's only so much, you can do.
How difficult is it to have that longer view? I mean, so much in today's society is what's right in front of you, and you've obviously been here a long time, but how is it difficult to have a longer view like that and to stick with the process, to know that what you've done works and you can stay with that with all the noise that's happening outside?
There's confidence in what we do, definitely, and our process of doing things has been very successful through the years, and I'm sure will continue to be.
You said that you tried everything from man, zone, whatever. As you were switching up what you were doing, was tech also evolving to counter that? Because you've said that you weren't out of position and there weren't mental errors. So is it just tech out executing?
Yeah, and in some instances, yeah. All right.